By the way, we're spoiling the movie. Sorry. We are spoiling the shit out of this movie.
We're going to have to cut that part and put it in.
There'd be no fun to this conversation if we didn't spoil the movie.
What did you guys think of the opening credit sequence?
Oh, dude, dynamite. It was so good.
Dude, it was fire. I leaned over to Andrew and I was like, this is the best opening that we've gotten for a Deadpool movie.
What was your guys' favorite variant of Wolverine in this movie? My answer is obvious.
Come on, man. The one that I was most hyped for was Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill with the bicep claw launch. But like, man, how cool would it have been to see an actual Wolverine versus Hulk?
It's one of my favorite animated.
That movie's great.
It's so good when those two go at it. Oh my god, I'm gonna freaking. Oof,
they but the thing is, like, you're willing to defend it, and then when I like critique it, you're like, I don't know. But then you're like, but I'm sure it's gonna be good.
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron. Today with Zach in Denver.
And we put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're reviewing Deadpool and Wolverine.
3, 2, 1, action!
What's up, Zach? What's up, Denver? First time on the show. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm excited.
He's nervous.
He's nervous. He's sweating over there.
A little bit.
Sweating.
First big question of the day for everybody, right? Deadpool or Wolverine?
Wolverine.
Why'd you guys all make that decision so easily?
Because we've had him for the last 10 or 20 years, right?
I'll say Wolverine too. I mean, especially if you're looking at like overall quality of movies, like Wolverine.
Just holds that prestigious like honor to him. It's just like, oh, it's Wolverine back in action.
Well, how about Hugh Jackman or Ryan Reynolds?
Just gotta face you here.
Hugh Jackman.
Same.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
This is the greatest show.
Hugh Jackman. I mean, like when he's punching the ceiling of the car in this movie and like raging out, telling him how like he's never gonna be anything, he's never gonna save the world. I was like, man, it reminds me of Prisoners and just how good Hugh Jackman is at giving rage. His rage is so untouchable in cinema history.
That perfect Wolverine scream.
It's so much like grit to it.
Yeah. And he was getting pretty low in those lunges, wasn't he? Well,
that was my favorite part is when like they're finally fighting in the void and he gets down on all fours and he's going at it and you just see him. I don't think you've seen it in another X-Men movie or anything, and he just kind of galloped along the ground and then
maybe in Origins.
Yes.
Maybe
I just rewatched every X-Men movie.
That's precious knowledge.
Except for New Mutants. I ran out of time. I was watching
his brother does it.
Sabretooth kind of moves like that.
In Origins, right?
Sabretooth does like a little like.
I think that the closest thing they get to like frenzy. What's the comic book term for Wolverine? Where it's like frenzy Wolverine. I don't know. But there's like a
feral. I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the feral Wolverine. Thank you. I think the closest they get to it is maybe like a little bit in X2.
Well, I think they kind of almost showed it is that one variant where he was missing his arm, and that's like Apocalypse Wolverine in that time zone, whatever you want to call it, and he's in his little universe, and he's just got that, and he's just punching him in the alley with his claws, and he's just beating him down. That I think is like the closest variant they showed to that.
There's a scene in one of the. It's not X-Men. It's not First Class. So it's either Dark Phoenix or the other one in between there. I think it's the middle one though. But where he goes like feral and he's killing a whole bunch of dudes.
Down the hallway?
Yeah, there's a hallway.
Yeah, there's one where he like he's like still connected.
You're right.
Yeah, they're on him still.
What was your guys' favorite variant of Wolverine in this movie? My answer is obvious.
Come on, man.
It's not my usual way.
Yeah, I think that technically, the main Wolverine of the movie is a variant.
That's basic, babe.
So I'll pick him.
Got him.
But, there's some good ones in the beginning.
What was your guys' favorite, Arron and Denver?
I think and it might just be because I like.
By the way, we're spoiling the movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
We are spoiling the shit out of this
We're
movie.
gonna have to cut that part and put it in.
There'd be no fun to this conversation if we didn't spoil the movie. So we're gonna spoil all the cameos and whatever we talk about.
I have to probably go with the one that was sitting in the rocking chair and just shot him. Just shot him with the shotgun. I was like, okay, that's sweet.
That's one of the ones that had me rocking out forward in my seat the most. Old Man Logan was so freaking cool.
No words, all action.
Denver loves him some Old Man.
That looks just like Old Man Logan from the comics too, with the hat.
The one that I was most hyped for was Henry Cavill.
Yes! Henry Cavill with the bicep claw launch.
That was
Oh my freaking god! Henry Cavill showed up in this movie. Anytime Henry Cavill shows up in anything, he makes it a million times better.
It was short, it was quick, but it was enough.
I hope that was
That's what she
it.
said.
I hope there's more to come of Cavalry.
I've read rumors and speculations that they have found the Wolverine after this movie was released, and then in my head I'm thinking, okay, after I saw Henry, I'm like, so maybe this is
How
what
good
they
did
want.
He looked, and he sounded good for it too.
Yeah.
Like
The cigar was perfect.
he sounded like really like Wolverine.
There's no way they're actually going with him.
I hope so.
There's no way.
Also, his arms were huge in that.
The part that makes me so nervous though is because I feel like it's similar to the I'm forgetting the guy's name right now, but the Mr. Fantastic from Multiverse of Madness. Because he was like John Krasinski.
Oh, John Krasinski.
Oh, yeah.
He was like a fan cast for a long time.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, let's just do it because it's just a multiverse version. It doesn't have to be the main Reed Richards. And then
That's what I think
now
is
we
happening.
have Pedro Pascal, who's the main Reed Richards.
I wouldn't get my hopes up too much for
Dude, I hope
Henry
so. He
Cavill,
looks
but I would
good.
love it.
I feel like it's
I don't want him to be.
It's a
freaking,
waste
like,
of Henry.
for just that little bit of the movie.
It's too much.
There was rumors he was going to be like Hyperion. It's like I don't really care like about. Sorry, Hyperion. Maybe it would be cool, but like make him Wolverine. Like make him somebody prominent.
Yeah. I mean, who else did it? Harry Potter?
Zach really hates it. So what I said to Zach in the car on the way over here is that I would have been happy if they just moved forward with the movie and Henry Cavill's Wolverine said yes and teamed up with him, and Hugh Jackman just wasn't in the rest of the movie.
I think that's so crazy.
That's crazy.
It's a bold statement.
Where he just the rest. Wow.
I
think Hugh
love,
Jackman just came back to like life and rejuvenated Wolverine, and that's what you're gonna put.
Bro.
Yeah, you basically don't even want him in this movie.
The shirtless scene at the end.
yeah, he.
God dang.
Well, they ripped the sleeves off just to show the guns.
I will say that you didn't get to see his face with the body. Could have been CGI.
I think the body was CGI.
There's no way. I don't think he's that chiseled.
No, I
We're
think
talking about for.
the
Where
end
was the
scene.
Cavill?
I think that end scene was all CGI.
I also had a theory for CGI while we're talking about it. It definitely seemed to me like the mask he was wearing was CGI, at least when they were outdoors.
It very well could be. Yeah.
After they destroyed all those Deadpool variants, when they jumped out of the back of that bus, it was a really bad moment for me because I looked at it and I'm like, Wolverine is completely CGI'd and you don't need him to be. And I get like Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool sitting right there, and I'm just like, the whole scene was almost too much.
I feel like there was a few scenes in this movie where it was like too much of there's too much on the screen right now.
Yeah.
And that is one of them.
Before we get too sad and negative too early in this episode, let's rewind, go to the very beginning of the film. What did you guys think of the opening credit sequence?
Oh, dude, dynamite. It was so good.
Dude, it was fire. I leaned over to Andrew and I was like, this is the best opening that we've gotten for a Deadpool movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's
it
tough.
was so good.
I'm really partial to the first one, especially because it being based on test footage that brought the Deadpool movie to life. But this might take the cake.
Just a bunch of adamantium bones getting tossed around.
I think people will complain about that, saying like his bones are indestructible. How is he taking the ribs off? But I just want to say that it makes sense because he's not breaking the bones. He's just separating them from the joints.
Yeah.
And then using the bones as weapons.
There was this part in the opening where it was like, it opens to bye, bye, bye. And there was like a part where he's like, has the leg, I think, and he's like, do, 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 but it hits just to the beat of the song. Yeah.
It was so well choreographed.
There's like 4 or 5 points like that throughout that fight sequence where they time the beats of the hits of the song.
And it's like cutting and him just like dancing the dance too. So it was good. I mean, I was definitely hyped watching it.
And he just
it was
assembled
so
the whole
cool.
body piece by piece, taking out ribs and finger bones and arms. And
then he got the claws on
That
himself.
was sick.
That was so cool.
It's really hard being Wolverine.
My own arm.
he stabbed his own arm.
That was so cool.
So for me, that was my favorite part of the movie. I would have to say, other than, unless you count Henry Cavill's like 3 seconds of screen time, that would be my favorite part. But then followed by the opening fight scene. What was your guys' each favorite part of the movie?
The actual Deadpool Wolverine fight when Deadpool looks over and he's like, "It's about to get awesome," and
Yeah, that was.
Get your
Get
special
yourself
socks.
sock made. Yeah, I love it. I feel like that line was maybe in one of the trailers, but I feel like in the actual movie, it just hit so much harder because we're like, "Oh shit, this is about to
go
happen!"
down.
Like,
That was the top tier part. I can't argue that.
I think
Yeah.
too, like what it really shows in that fight scene, which really made me happy, is Wolverine's him regenerating as quickly, almost as quickly as Deadpool, because I don't think he's on par with Deadpool in that sense, but he was doing just enough to keep on par with him fighting wise, and then they just pretty much got tired out. But
And then also the one thing I wanted to remind the audience too is that the only reason he was able to have that sword fight with Wolverine, that was your favorite scene, is because he mentions at the TVA that he got adamantium swords.
Yeah.
So any other swords would have broke in that fight. But what was your guys' favorite scene in the movie? I don't think we heard from Arron or Zach.
It's so hard to pick. I like the two that have been mentioned a lot. I really like the
I just love
opening.
the music.
The opening was so
The needle
good.
drops
It's a
in
good
this movie
soundtrack.
are amazing. The needle drops when they're like the one from the trailer where they're walking out and it's
Yeah.
just like a prayer. Oh my god!
Another great.
yeah, the music is very good in this.
But bye.
Yeah, it was good.
God.
Another great one was when they were fighting in the car.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
That was really cool. There was like the emotional tension in the beginning. Then he's like, "I'm gonna fight you now." and then they go, they hit the front console. Greatest Showman comes on.
Greatest show. It's like,
I love all the meta jokes.
yeah.
They're so good at fitting them in.
Is the big guy gonna come in here? I feel like I should be saving this for him. Is it?
Yeah, they're so good at that.
I am the big guy as far as you're concerned.
What's your favorite part, Zach?
I don't know. I think probably also the first fight with Deadpool and Wolverine. But there's just so many like moments where I like lit up, like when Chris Evans first fucking shows up, I was like,
Did you know
my
that
jaw
was?
literally dropped, dude.
Did you know that was him when he had the hood on?
No,
That's what I was thinking it
I
was.
didn't know.
He was hyping him up so much too. He was
I knew that Chris Evans was in this in some capacity because remember I said earlier today I saw a spoiler.
That's what it was.
But I assumed that it was going to be like a post-credit scene,
Right.
Or like nothing,
He was in it
Yeah.
a lot.
And he had a role in it. So
Mhm.
It's like a large size cameo.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah,
And when I saw the red on his like kind of wrist area, I was like,
they
"Is
teased
he
you.
freaking Captain America right now?" Because you had said beforehand when I talked to you, who do you think is going to be in this movie? Who do you want to be in this movie? You said, I think Chris Evans might show up, but probably as Johnny Storm and not Captain America. So that was my first thought when I saw his face. But then I saw the red, and I had some hope that we got Captain America, which we did technically. We got a shot at Captain America.
And then Deadpool was like, "Cap."
Bro,
Yeah, that had me going.
When he goes into the TVA and he sees Cap do the salute and he like straightens up and split, that's so good. That is so funny.
What was your guys' favorite Easter egg in the movie?
There's like so many, so it's hard to pick. I mean, we're fresh off the movie.
They're literally fitting one in like every other line.
Yeah.
They got some sort of remark or they're showing someone on screen that we've seen before.
I'd say my favorite reference was also in the Henry Cavill scene when he said, "We'll treat you better than the guys down the street."
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Anyway, they'll treat him better than Warner Brothers.
That's like one of those other meta jokes that's like I told Andrew, I was like, the like real life jokes are actually funny in this one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's really like they hit good,
I think they were funny and really funny in 2 also when he's like, "You're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
Yeah.
Well, and my favorite, I think that really was the icing for me is when he looked back and they're in the TVA and they're talking in front of Paradox. He's like, "Welcome to the MCU," and that's really cool because it's like hinting at like, "Oh, hey, I'm pretty sure Hugh signed for like 3 extra movies after this or something like that." I read it's like he's in for like Secret Wars and one other. Is I believe there's like 2 movies guaranteed.
Literally going to be like 65 by the time he's done.
I'll take Hugh Jackman
I haven't
all
heard that
day.
confirmed, so don't blame Don't
That's okay.
blame backseat directing when that's not true.
I got
I
sources.
think that
It's like Denver's like I saw that on Facebook somewhere.
It's my angry uncle.
he doesn't show up more, that'd be crazy. Like, he's got to show up.
It's like burning money
Yeah.
for both of them, for the studio and for Hugh.
Well, they
Like,
kept him around, I think, for a reason, because you definitely could have just killed him in the end and said, forget about it. But there's no way, like he's saying, I think you at least one more movie or
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a lot.
a variation.
Yeah, I think they should start a fresh X-Men universe. But
You had it at the end there with the table. That was a pretty cool little X-Men group. Colossus, Deadpool, Negasonic, all them.
I'm talking about like start really fresh.
Oh,
Like,
God.
and get a new
Again?
Wolverine. Yeah.
Again?
Like fitting in the MCU.
Yeah.
That's just a
I
tough
think they
go.
will do that, but I think they're going to make all this money based on, like, people's nostalgia.
They just mix and match too much because of that. Like they know people want to see those like James Marsden types coming back, and that's makes it confusing and mixes things up.
I personally don't find it confusing, but I think
Nerd.
Just so much
I think it would be confusing if they were like, oh, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine in the MCU main, what do they call it, the sacred timeline.
Yeah.
But all these other X-Men are new, but also Halle Berry Storm. That would be like weird, you know? But if everybody's new in the MCU, great.
Just one way or the other. You're saying?
Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah.
I
I hope Henry Cavill plays Wolverine as the main Wolverine.
Kind of goes back to what I said in the movie theater was Wasteland. It's a comic, but it's kind of based off that. It's like all the Avengers and X-Men are kind of dead, but they're all spread out through this wasteland, and like there's a Hulk land and all this stuff.
where Old Man Logan takes place.
Yeah,
And there's like gangs. There's like Ghost Rider gang and
yeah, and that's like that's kind of like where I could see like somebody who might get confused if they wanted to do extra stuff or like start a new X-Men and went down that kind of path again. But it would be you'd start getting confused if you started just throwing things around.
I don't think they'll keep Henry Cavill's Wolverine because he's too old. When they're going to want to start over and have him for another
How old is he?
10, 20 years, right?
Hugh Jackman. He's
I mean,
older.
and Hugh Jackman looks great.
Is he like 40?
Like,
Yeah, but don't you think they're going to want to start with someone younger
I agree.
if they're starting all over? I mean, how old was Hugh when he first started?
Much younger.
He had
That
to
was
be, like,
20
he was,
years
like,
ago.
25 or
Like,
something.
Yeah, but I think
30.
Wolverine, he's like the one you can kind of get away with casting somebody who's a little bit older than the rest of the cast because he's so like
200 years old.
long-lived, you
He's
know?
in the movie.
Yeah.
Like it could be Henry
More
Cavill.
grungy.
He could cast some of this as younger
go.
than him.
The one in this movie, he said he was 200 plus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would work out just fine. You know, but in real life, you don't have superpowers.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
these
well, they'll just keep
actors-
CGI in the body.
Yeah.
the actors look so good, so like far down the road. I mean, Hugh Jackman looks great as old as he is right now.
Longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think his arms are 100% real or touched up for the movie? Because if you look
Real.
at the
Well,
Instagram
they're
photos,
oiled up probably.
but if you look at the Instagram photos, his skin looks different.
I think they're real. The veins, like all that vascular and stuff, I think is.
The strength might be real, but they still could be adding like
Spray tan.
coloring and like texturing to make his arms look younger.
Well,
Sure.
I'm sure they're doing some type of like makeup.
I feel
on
like
it.
they're touching him up a little bit. I mean,
They're that big.
is he though?
Well, that's why
I
he
feel
stopped
like
Wolverine.
in all the
'cause-
press tours, both before and after this movie's come out, like he doesn't look as big as he does when he's in the suit.
He said that's like the main reason is he couldn't keep up with the physique of Wolverine. That's like a reason why he kind of
Yeah.
like laid it
So
to
then the
rest.
abs
Yeah.
fake too when it comes to the climactic
Well,
scene of the movie.
The end scene was for sure
No way.
fake, for sure.
That was
Because
Don't talk about the scene when he's standing in a group with the everyone oogling him. Like,
I also think that's fake.
Okay.
yeah.
because it seems a lot more evidently fake in the
And I mean, they
explosion.
a way that they can make it look so real is that they have a bunch of reference of him specifically looking very close to how that looked. But there's no way he was in that condition.
I think you have a cut
For
and a
this.
body double, and it's just a dude that is nicely chiseled out, oiled up, look really good.
Then we're kind of
You guys got me.
It was Andrew the whole time.
They put Hugh's face on my body, and
This all back to directing. We're like, we need this guy now.
But let's get rid of his mouth.
Mark with the dial.
They original Deadpooled you.
So I think that the funniest part in the movie for me was all of the Marvel Jesus jokes. Like when he came back and he said, "He hath risen." He made like 4 or 5 Marvel Jesus jokes, and I was laughing the whole time.
I liked when he was right before he said Marvel Jesus for the first time. He was like, the hierarchy is changing.
Yeah, that was
So funny.
that one got me. I thought that was funny.
Don't they have a personal beef too?
I don't know.
Like
I mean, doesn't everyone? I feel like
there's
these days.
There's a line in this movie where when he first sees Blade, he's like, Blade's like, "I don't like you," and Ryan Reynolds is like, "No, you never did."
Blade Trinity.
And they had like
Yeah.
back then, and obviously they squashed it. They just wanted to make money.
It was also funny in that same scene where he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about Daredevil,"
Yeah,
and she's like, "I'm not."
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because they're ex-husband. The like real life jokes were.
There's so many.
yeah,
It's so funny.
Who was your guys' favorite cameo? Because other than Henry Cavill, I got really excited when Blade walked in.
Blade, dude.
That was really cool.
nostalgia.
That was a good
kid.
entrance.
Yeah. Zach's obviously.
I don't like his pants, but I mean, I liked him. His pants were so bad. Blade's pants looked like he was like an old cowboy with just West. I'm like, dude, what is going on here
I
right
think
now?
even Johnny Storm, but Johnny Storm's pants I thought looked cool. He had like the skin tight jumpsuit, but then he had like cargos.
Yeah.
Gambit?
Honestly, Gambit. I was just about to say Gambit was really exciting for me too because like
Perfect.
You called it
It
before
was-
he was on screen. We saw the card and you were like, "It's going to be
it's
Channing
gonna be
Tatum."
Yeah, I had a feeling because like, and that was another real life like a set of real life jokes that were actually funny
Yep.
because he was talking about like people never knew. So
Oh, yeah.
people like you wanted to say, but you never knew.
Because he was supposed to get a Gambit movie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Instead
then for whatever reasons, never
We can move
happened.
that.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, I'm going to make a name for myself.
Yeah.
Just laying on Nightwing.
I liked it so much because he looked so like comic book accurate.
And he did the Cajun accent the entire time.
I almost didn't understand anything.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening so hard.
really hard.
I
might have
was
been
locked
the
in
point.
every time he spoke. To
Hold on, come on now, Elliot. We're going to go some cards.
I'm definitely separated from the body now.
Who is your dialect coach?
Yeah.
Minions?
That was a funny joke too. There's a lot of funny jokes.
Also, Blake Lively cameo.
Yeah.
She's the Gwen.
Kinda.
Is that Gwen? That's
Kinda.
Gwen.
It was her
Lively.
voice.
Yeah, that's a cameo.
Yeah, but that wasn't her.
I know. I think it was double doing the voice. Otherwise, they would have shown her face.
Yeah.
Deadpool referenced Blake too when they land that like rocket leg. He's like, "Get your head out of my pants!" I'm telling Blake.
But she can't necessarily. I mean, someone's got to watch their 3 kids, so
Yeah.
maybe she can't be on set at the same time.
Yeah,
So,
Ryan Reynolds can't afford a babysitter.
well, I don't know. Maybe they don't want to trust a babysitter, Zach. I don't know their life.
I don't know. I think
Also, Blake Lively could afford the babysitter too, Zach. She has her own career with a lot of success.
Why do you even need to watch the babies? Just have them on set.
yeah.
That was the baby.
Yeah, hey, just call over a PA. Wait, we need you to watch these 3 kids.
We need more of these in the movie now.
The kid pool was really funny.
There was a really good one too, where Deadpool, they're just all just talking around, and then he says something along the lines of like, "The MCU's like in the trash right now, or it's been like on a downhill."
You came in at a low point.
Yeah.
That was so funny. That was so funniest jokes.
He made a lot of fun of. He made a lot of fun of the MCU.
Crapped
I
on.
love when Nicepool was like, I think it's been just great since Endgame. It's like, that's everyone's biggest complaint is how downhill it's gone since Endgame. It was so funny.
How did I know he's not going to regenerate?
I was dying. That might be,
I think I got it.
that might be one of the hardest I laughed in the whole movie when he's like, "Oh my gosh, a donut cart! They've got treehouse kids in there. I'm gonna get you over there." And Wolverine's like, "You fucking asshole."
You fucking prick. Yeah, dude, that's
Speaking of nice I thought it was really funny when Deadpool was like, "Where's your mask?" And he's like, "Come on." I'm not gonna cover this up.
With the long ponytail hair too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they brought the Deadpool core back because after they referenced it, I was like, when are they bringing
I
back?
forgot about him until you were like, "It's going to be the Deadpool core," and I was like, "Oh, that's right. They did reference these people."
I know I saw him and it was like bothering me during the movie is the black and gray Deadpool suit. That is a reference. Isn't that like the reference to when he was in the X-Men?
I think that's the X4.
X-Force?
Yeah, I think the X-Force
Because I just seen him a little bit and I got super excited. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. This looks great. And you just see his I think he's almost holding Deadpool. It looks
I do just want to say here real quick, in case McNeil watches this episode, I just got a notification from our Discord where McNeil says, anybody seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet? Right in the middle of our conversation.
Yes, we have.
So, McNeil, if you're watching this, yes. You have seen it.
Shout out to my old Jeopardy partner.
Yes.
Hey.
And also, if you're watching this and you're not McNeil, make sure to join in the Discord so that you can message with all of us in there about movies in real time.
Boom. Look at that timing, man.
I'll read your
That was
comments on the
good.
podcast.
That was good. I liked back at the TVA when he first got introduced to the MCU and he runs over and grabs the camera.
Yeah.
Headbutts
Grabs
I'm
the
going
mic.
to
He's like, I'm going fucking Fox.
Screw you, Fox. That was hilarious.
It's so
There was a
funny.
couple times where Aaron laughed so hard during this movie. I don't know if I've ever heard you laugh as hard as watching this movie.
I was laughing with the movie, but then also I had Denver right next to me laughing. And it was just like, oh man, this is such a good time.
When he kept referencing Thor, and every time he woke up or something, he's like, why am I crying? Why is Thor crying? And he's like,
Why is Thor crying?
That wasn't even Hemsworth, was it?
I think it was Luke Hemsworth.
it was a very
Okay, yeah.
He plays Thor in the plays in the Thor movies.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
think that's what it was. But when it showed it a second time, I was like, wait, maybe that is.
I don't think it was.
It was a little
It's
chunky.
such a small
In the
scene,
face.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's hard to tell. But yeah,
The
I
beard
think it
looked
was-
different.
I think it was
Yeah.
Luke.
I thought that we were going to get the payoff of Thor coming in at the end, but he didn't. And that's almost funnier.
I'll tell you what, more than anything, I wanted the Hulk in this movie. And that's one of my disappointments as far as like,
Yeah,
You never get the Hulk in an MCU
wait, don't
movie.
you fight Hulk here?
so I'm good with like, I'll give up everything to keep Henry Cavill in the movie. And I already said that to Zach. I'll trade every cameo for those 3 seconds of Henry Cavill. But like, you know how you get your hopes up. I wanted to see either version of Professor X and Magneto, but preferably Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
I'm shocked they weren't in it.
And I wanted to see the Hulk. And the Hulk, like, even if like they had, because they kind of did like Wasteland with the Void. If they had like a Wasteland Void version of Hulk that was like the old Hulk from Old Man Logan, yeah, that just with the grays and like that. If he like came through the portal or something, or if he was in the Void, I would have lost my mind. And to see Wolverine fight the Hulk, I cannot believe they cut that early. I just needed just give me 10 seconds of Wolverine and Hulk going at it before Deadpool jumps into that portal, and I'm a totally like
Dude, they had
changed
to
my-
save their CGI budget for Hugh Jackman's shirtless scenes at the end.
But like, man, how cool would it have been to see an actual Wolverine versus Hulk?
That's one of my
Would've been
favorite
sick.
animated.
That movie's great.
It's so good when those two go at it. Oh my god, I'm gonna freaking oof, get
They
chills.
showcased Wolverine's strength though in this movie. He pushed back like 20 Deadpools.
Dude, when he like trucked the car and it set
The airbags,
off,
that was really
good.
cool.
Deadpool did something like that in Deadpool 2 as well.
What did you? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they really do well. And if you notice, in like all the Deadpools, is they don't nerf the characters. Like Juggernaut in 2 is actually Juggernaut, and if I read correctly, he is like he can punch like cosmic level power sometimes, like at his like peak power levels. He's pretty dang strong, and I don't think people realize how much the MCU has nerfed a lot of the
The
characters.
thing about Juggernaut that I think everybody has kind of gotten wrong, and that I think makes him way more interesting as a character. I did not like him as much before I learned this, but he's not a mutant. He's like the stepbrother of Charles Xavier who doesn't have powers, and his powers come from like this god, Tarak or something. I can't remember his name, but this stone and like a tomb gives him his powers, and his actual power isn't super strength. He is the human Juggernaut. So whenever he like gets going, his momentum physically can't be stopped. So Juggernaut, if he's running or charging, nothing can stop it. Doesn't matter how strong you are. Superman can't stop Juggernaut. The Hulk can't stop Juggernaut. He can't be stopped when he's moving. So like that power has never showcased in anything, and that's totally different. I feel like he's just depicted as someone with super strength.
In X-Men 3, The Last Stand, they say that he has to stay in solitary confinement at all times because if he builds up any amount of momentum, he can't be stopped. They say that, but it doesn't ever really like
Come into play.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he doesn't technically get stopped in that movie until his powers are taken by that mutant. That's how he gets like knocked out.
Yeah.
So it's like they kind of cheat it, but you don't actually see him like never being stopped. You don't see him like running through Wolverine.
They depict it more as super strength.
Is that like the 4th Juggernaut we've seen in a X-Men kind of movie?
That's the same one from
X3.
Is it?
Yeah.
I could not tell. I was like, that is good eyes, guys. I was.
Yeah, Zach just watched them too.
Yeah.
That's probably why I'm a little
That
rusty on
actor
that.
was just saying too in some interview that he wasn't in it. which they're all saying that nowadays. And then they show up. So I think that makes him the second Juggernaut.
The other one I don't like as
Reynolds
much.
one is just like it's just like a CGI.
Pure CGI.
And it's Ryan Reynolds
voicing
I think
it.
who's doing it anyways. So.
Those villain cameos too, when they're all fighting in front of giant dead like was a waste because they all got killed. Like Lady Deathstrike got killed off screen, like not even off screen. She was in the pile of human beings getting beat up, and then you just see her die. And then
Peace too. I was surprised by every time they showed her, she was getting smacked by X-23. She was getting smacked by Elektra, I think. Maybe even at one point, like she was getting tossed around. She was such a menacing threat in X2. But they were just getting their cameos in this movie. So you want to get to my complaints? You guys want to address my complaints?
Yeah.
So my big complaint.
Wait, real quick, because I was trying to find where to put this in. But one of the in the beginning when it was showing all the different Wolverines, I was so happy that it showed the brown and yellow suit Wolverine too. I thought that was cool.
That's the one that was fighting the Hulk, right?
I think.
Yeah, he's like that's what you used to fight the Hulk in.
Yeah.
And then he's
yeah.
I thought
that suit looked really good.
Yeah.
My only other question is the red gentleman. His name is like Mephisto. Azazel.
Yeah.
I was thinking Mephisto or something like that. Is that?
Mephisto's a character, but he's like he's like the devil.
Ah, gotcha.
I know some stuff. Zach's our resident Marvel expert, though.
No.
I know some of what Zach knows.
It might be the only comics I read is Marvel. So
all the comics I read is Batman. You look at my collection, it's like Batman, Marvel spot.
Yeah.
Batman,
Yeah.
Invincible.
Yeah, it's crazy how much Batman bias is in my collection. But I want to talk about my complaints. I see your guys' concerns. Maybe you can fix them for me and explain things I missed. My big complaint with this movie is I feel like it's the best part of the movie, and a big complaint of me story-wise is that the movie is like really prioritizes cameos and style over substance to me in terms of the story. The movie seems like it's trying to get to all of these beats of like shoehorning in these characters, and it almost feels like they wrote the overarching plot around that aspect because they were like, all right, how can we get Deadpool into the void so that we can make it easier to have a bunch of cameos that make sense because they're all getting thrown into the void with him. And it seems like that was their motivation for the entirety of the plot, and the plot really fell background to like, yeah, let's just get Deadpool and Wolverine together on screen, which is fine. I just have to go in and be like, oh, like it's just fun, and like not ride too hard on the plot because the villains were super boring. Even Cassandra Nova, she was cooler, but Paradox, you could pull him out of the movie and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Like Cassandra Nova at least was really cool, had cool visual moments.
She was
displaying her
like
powers.
menacing, yeah.
But like I feel like the villains were kind of, not very interesting, or like they were also like background comic villains. Like they're not huge characters, household names.
Budgets. I mean, that's Deadpool's whole thing.
Well, yeah, I think like
got you there.
I don't think that the story was bad, but I think that if the story is lacking a little bit and maybe like substance, I think the movie does a really good job of distracting you from that as far as like keeping you excited about the movie because like I personally I've only seen it once, but I didn't really feel like there was any boring parts of the movie. It was like excitement and that's kind of where the cameos and stuff come in, and the jokes too, of course.
I do feel like it got repetitive with like 15 times where they would show like a hooded figure or like a voice coming from behind the wall, because they did it with Johnny Storm, they did it with all the members of their fighting rebel force, and then they did it when Daphne Keane showed up at the end. She's like a shadowy figure. They like had so many cameos that were done the same way in the same style.
I guess I understand what you're saying because I feel like my general complaint is there's two things. Is one is Cassandra Nova. Is she's supposed to be Charles Xavier, one of the other most powerful mutants. You know what I'm saying? She gets pretty much obliterated in 10 minutes in screen time just holding on to a device that it was my big complaint about the subway blowing up on an atomic level kind of thing, right?
They made her so strong, and then you're saying like that explosion killed her that didn't kill Deadpool and Wolverine.
No, well, they just
didn't destroy the city,
right? And then like killed her, but then those two were just fine. Like she didn't have time to use any kinetic or whatever power.
Conveniently isolated to like the 10-foot radius of where she stood.
Yeah, and it just felt like they kind of just put like she was like a placeholder villain. Like we don't even know who we want to be a villain here, so we're just gonna throw someone abstract at you. Like
I totally agree with that.
Boom.
And I feel the same way about Paradox. I feel like his like character personality kind of like shifted, like where he was like sing-songy and playful, and
Yeah.
like that can work, but I didn't buy into him at all, and I didn't super buy into Cassandra Nova, even though she was by far cooler than Paradox.
The whole hand thing in the
That was
head,
awesome.
that is
Insane.
so
Yeah,
cool.
that was really
However
cool.
they were doing that, they made it look really good.
The special
because,
effects department crushed it on that part.
like especially when she was doing it to Paradox.
Yeah, she
towards
rolled
the
over
end,
his
eye was
eye.
moving.
His eye would
eyes
move.
would like pop
Yeah.
out, and like it was like you
Yeah,
know?
very well
And she
done.
was constant. It was constantly dynamic too. Whether any of the characters, her hand was moving around inside
The
of them,
entire time,
where
yeah.
they could have
It
just
was
done
so
this
cool.
and stopped.
And
Yeah.
when she did Wolverine, it was just one finger right through his forehead, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
That part of the story was really cool. When she's like, "I've got you," and he's like, "No."
In
I
the
got
Void,
you.
Cassandra Nova, I loved. It was cool. It was like, okay, she's top dog, and then she comes out, and I think she loses that aura. She's just completely. It's like
They just ran out of runtime, man.
I know it, but that's the thing is, I feel like you could have either not done that, and that was like the whole subway scene just made me a little upset. Not that it was bad; it was unpleasant for me to be like, okay, this is a really lackluster ending for something that was awesome the whole time.
I think
they
this-
did the Guardians thing where it's like, oh, this thing's gonna destroy everything, but if we hold hands,
Dan's off to save the universe. Can you guys help me understand something? And maybe it's just as simple as this is what is actually happening in filming, but it just feels like the street that Cassandra Nova walked out onto, where the same street where they have the Deadpool fight, that feels like a set, whereas Avengers 2012 feels like a street.
It is not a street. It is a couple cardboard walls next to each other. It looked like it came out of Friends or something.
Yeah, but then the street in Avengers 2012, they're shooting on a street. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that seems real.
Yeah,
the street was probably real, but
It was probably on a lot. It's probably on a studio.
It looked like a studio lot street.
Yeah.
It did
Yeah.
not look like
Too
real
much.
buildings and businesses.
Yeah.
and that's like the most relevant street in the whole universe there, because that's where Deadpool's apartment was, right there.
And then the subway where they were.
The subway where they're gonna destroy the universe from.
on an atomic level.
Just what happens where they open the portal to. They somehow
Didn't they walk
the
away
devices
from
right
there to get to the subway though? They walked onto a different street.
No,
to get to the
Al
subway.
was in
No.
her apartment looking down, straight down at the subway.
Cassandra Nova came out of Doctor Strange's circle and then took a right turn to the subway. Like that's how abrupt
10
it was.
feet away. And I think that's another part of it. It's not just that it is a lot, but it's when they keep coming back to the same area in the story. And it's the same thing in Multiverse of Madness when they keep going back to that rooftop on different universes.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like that is like, okay, we have this rooftop set. Let's just film the next part here.
Just kill it.
So it brings your mind more, makes you more cognizant of the fact that it's like this set and not a real rooftop that they're filming.
I think
I
this.
will say though, like you're definitely right, but I didn't feel it in the movie. But as we talked about, I was like, yeah, I mean that is weird that Al was right there and all these different things. But in the moment, like watching the movie, I didn't notice.
Yeah, I think this movie is a lot like Spider-Man: No Way Home, where it's just kind of fan service. It's fun. It's a good time. But then you rewatch it and you kind of break down the story, and it's maybe not as in depth or as strong as it originally felt when you were in the theater and you're excited to see all these cameos coming on screen for the first time. That's exactly what this movie felt like. Like I'm having fun the whole time, and then towards the end, you're like, I don't think I'm going to get the payoff that I wanted of the story.
I will say when I got into the third act and I was like, I think they're out of cameos. Then my brain started to be like, where's this story going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Zach said, when Blade's coming out and Elektra's coming out, I'm like, oh my god!
Yeah.
And then like at the end, after they did the Deadpool thing with the Deadpool core, I was like, I think that's their last. I think they just ran out of cameos.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then your brain starts to be like, okay, what's happening? Like then you start to lock in. And
Yeah.
you're like, Paradox, like, where's he been?
Yep.
You know, like.
Well, that brings me to one of my other things is I can't for the life of me remember, but the end of Deadpool 2, like, or in general in Deadpool 2, you have Cable doing all his different skips through all these other multiverses and stuff like that. Like, you had such a badass character in Cable, Josh Brolin, the man, and then you don't have anything mentioned. Like, I get maybe you wanted to separate from him, budget, and kind of, do your own thing, but where was Cable or any reference?
That I think is
he died in Endgame.
He got snapped, but they didn't get snapped back.
No, Thanos. He died.
Oh, I got you.
I got the joke immediately.
I got it the second time. It's better than the third. So I think that the budget thing is definitely huge because, right, you're looking at all his best friends in the world coming to his birthday, and Shatterstar's there. I mean, it's like they didn't pay to get Terry Crews or Bill Skarsgård back. They brought Shatterstar. It's like they cherry picked from. It's like, okay, we can afford to get just Shatterstar if we pay for Chris Evans. That's all we get. Those things where it's like pick 3 characters, or you have 15 points, and it's like this character's 5 points.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Kind of at one point, it's like happy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what we're looking at, I think.
It just makes me think like where they went, like where they tried to go with 2 didn't add up in 3. You know what I mean? Like 2 is like its own thing, and then 3 is a whole completely new set of whatever. Like, oh, my wife or his girlfriend left him and fiance, whatever, blah blah
that
blah.
Story element. I want to talk about how much I didn't like that. I want to come back to the love story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Between 1 and 2, it's very not like a sequel. It's not like they did a whole bunch of stuff in 1 to set up a bunch of stuff in 2. It's like 1 happened, and then
It's just a continuation.
2 is just like completely. I mean, the characters are the same, but there's not really any storylines that are following through.
I understand what you're saying. I feel like you hopping through multiverses and saying like what Cable was doing, that is such an important thing, especially when that was like right in the middle when MCU was doing all and like introducing.
The movie's just so
he doesn't multiverse travel. He travels back in time to stop Russell from becoming whatever the villain's name is to save his family.
Then how come Deadpool was able to use his time machine to multiverse travel? Because he multiverse traveled over to like the Foxverse and stuff.
To Green Lantern.
Yeah, to all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how.
It's not like if he
his
just
time travel device works. But I would assume because at the end when Deadpool gets it, all those things that happen is more just like a joke. So I feel like they just kind of.
Sure.
They probably
They're not that much of a joke because Vanessa was back alive in this movie.
Well, they probably weren't thinking that it was going to lead to like this type of sequel, where Fox is no longer in charge. Like they probably weren't anticipating that now it's in the MCU.
Disney owned Fox and Marvel at the time of Deadpool 2 because they took that photo of Deadpool getting escorted off of Disneyland, showing that Disney owned the rights to Deadpool.
But I think it was probably already mostly shot. I don't really remember the timeline, but the Vanessa thing was like, that's the timeline thing that he fixed. But the Green Lantern one, for example, I think they just put in there.
It's a joke.
Well, the thing is, the timeline thing is connected to the universes because the timelines are branching. So, like, if you go back, if it's branched off, you go back far enough in time and it's the same timeline,
Yeah.
And then you go forward and there's 2 routes.
Yeah, so technically, like...
If that wasn't... this is what I did. If you didn't see that on camera,
The Deadpool we just watched would technically be a variant of Deadpool from Deadpool 1 because of the branch timeline of when he went back and saved Vanessa.
You guys are giving me a headache.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time.
I understand all you're saying. I understand
it's
too convoluted. I think that the universe is a freaking mess.
I mean, it's
Endgame MCU is a mess.
It's been that way for a while now, for sure.
I just think what they did with that Deadpool 2 was a waste, but I liked Deadpool 3. Like, it was just too important for them in what they did in 2 and the end of Deadpool 2, and then they go to 3, and it's like, here's Hugh Jackman.
Can we talk about another one of my big complaints, which I said I want to circle back to the relationship? Miranda Bachran, I feel like, was on set for 1 day because all her scenes were shot in one location in the apartment with him.
Flashbacks.
Yeah,
and with a slight head turn.
And she, like, I don't know, they didn't want to use her, which goes back to me saying they were. Excuse me, I should have had a milkshake.
Yeah, dude.
But it goes back to my complaint that they were like really fighting to get into the void to show all the characters because like Vanessa is no part of the story. She's in 2 scenes in the movie, all from the same location. And basically the beginning is like, we don't love each other anymore. And the end is like lightning fast, like, let's love each other again. That'll make audiences happy.
Well,
and she's like, I'm in.
Well, there was a scene where, and it was a different room at least.
A different room in the same house.
Yeah,
same set.
But they're having a conversation where she's basically saying like, he's wasting his talents, and she wants him to do something that's bigger than just himself.
I'm sorry.
And then he does that.
He went back in time to save her life, and she's mad he's not using his own talents enough.
All right,
Tell me,
What kind of bullshit?
you didn't sell a key in
Women, am I right? Oh my god! I know you.
You're damned if you don't.
I know that you like saved me from being murdered by a gunshot, but like you're really not living up to your full potential.
Well,
I'm sorry. Was it not enough potential to save your goddamn life?
Also, Deadpool 2 is completely about him trying to save this kid who has nobody.
She's also.
So it's like, yeah, I guess that.
She's also only in the beginning of that movie too. I don't know why they won't let Miranda Bachran be in the goddamn movies. They like
she was in the first one for a lot,
considerably more, and they write 2 and 3 as though their love story is a huge, impactful part of this character, and somehow they try to get away with that without having her in the movies.
You know, that is another complaint of mine that I think they missed out on an opportunity was Death and Deadpool's relationship, like from the comics. That would have been so cool, like a reference of like.
If
somewhere
she could have stayed dead in the second movie, and like him being in love with her while she's dead would be like being in love with death.
Yeah,
could have angled it that way.
It'd have been so awesome, dude. I was like, perfect opportunity.
That's Thanos in there.
Would you guys have preferred a cameo heavy, joke heavy, you know, all these one-liners in there, Deadpool movie, or a more
story-driven?
Story-driven movie?
So I would prefer, obviously.
And my second part to that question is if it's possible to do both.
Obviously, I think it obviously is possible to do both, and I think we would all prefer if they did both. But
is there an example of that?
Of a cameo-heavy movie
that's like serving audiences like predictions and wants and requests, but is also telling a fantastic story.
I think The Dark Knight, some of those series, like not that it's like the craziest cameos, but when you get like your Two-Face or your Jokers when everybody's in the bank, like those are pretty cool. And then you get your Catwoman and all that extra stuff. I think they did not like crazy giant cameos, but they did a pretty good job with giving you the story, how it needs to go, and giving you characters that you want to see.
See, I think those movies are story driven. I don't think they're like
the characters like,
cameo heavy.
are developed. Like that, you see him change from.
There's cameos, but not on the scale that I think you're looking.
Not like this. Not like this.
But it's hard to say, like, because basically the only example we have for a universe this established is the MCU.
Right.
Like, so I don't think any MCU projects have necessarily done it on that level. I think, like you said, No Way Home is a very similar example to this, where when you go back and rewatch it, it's like, it's, you know, maybe not the strongest in terms of story, but still really cool. I'm trying to think of a good example of something that does both. The first thing I thought of was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but that's not about interweaving stories. That just has a lot of different actors doing small cameo roles as the 7 Evil X's. But I think that manages to tell a really good, fun story and weave in different characters. They're just not like established from a universe.
Yeah. So what would you guys have preferred this movie to have been? What we got, cameo heavy fan service, or a more story driven Deadpool Wolverine movie like Logan?
I had to pick one. I'd pick what we got.
I think what they did was perfect. I'm not even complaining about the like actual story. I think they did a good job, making us interested. Like
I have you recorded complaining.
It's not like more of a complaint. It's more like just like it upset me that there wasn't more. But I think they gave a perfect amount of cameo, a perfect amount of action, and a perfect amount of like where they're going in the direction, because they have who they have. Ryan Reynolds is young and he plays Deadpool, so you don't need him to look young.
If they gave the perfect amount of cameo, Henry Cavill would have been in the entirety of it. Every second.
Guys, settle down.
I think I agree with that. I would definitely would have preferred what we got, because, like, to me, the superhero movies should be like exciting and catered to the fans. You know, like I don't necessarily want to go and watch like some super
film bro
story-driven like drama. You know,
here's the thing though, is tonight I say I prefer the cameo version, but rewatch value I think is really hurt when because I'm not going to be as excited second, third, fourth, fifth time to see Johnny Storm show up because I know he's there. So the story is what carries the movie long term and keeps it in the conversation. It makes the rewatch value high. So if you ask me 5 years from now, I might say, well, actually, I kind of wish the story was a little stronger.
So then my question would be, is there an MCU movie that you find rewatchable that gives you that?
Yeah, I think that there's quite
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Because
I
Endgame,
think they
you know what
all
happens in Endgame.
I think they all have a lot different of a tone than Deadpool, though.
Sure.
I mean,
You know, like Iron Man.
I can rewatch Iron Man 2008
Yeah,
tons of times.
all of the Captain America, especially the last two. Even the Avengers, all the Avengers, I would say.
Shang-Chi, I can rewatch
Yeah.
times.
That's a diamond
Black
in the rough that
Panther.
nobody like talks about.
I love Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it's good. But like those, I think were focused on their story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides the Avengers movie, that's of course all of them coming together. But I think this one is more of like, how many people and how many jokes can we get in there?
Yeah.
You know, and like they know their tone and they stuck with it the whole time, and they're not trying to like pretend to be something they're not.
Right, but I feel like they don't overdo it either.
No.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like they were like, you know, I mean, there's definitely other people they could have put in, you know, and I don't know. I thought they didn't overdo it. I thought it played pretty well. I don't know what's happening.
Okay, so does anybody else have any complaints with the movie? Me and Denver raised some complaints, but these two Marvel fanboys over here have nothing bad to say about it.
I'm usually an apologist, so.
Yeah, I just asked the questions.
CGI. I think there was a lot of complaints on like the first couple Deadpools too about how bad the CGI was. I just, you know, I read online and a lot of that stuff, like Reddit people say it.
What do people hate on in the first movie, though? I feel like the first movie looks great.
If you look,
Yeah, I mean, it's
because I think it's Domino.
No,
when Domino's
the first
running
one?
around in the second one, for
Yeah.
me, that is terrible.
It's because they're
CGI.
not filming in real streets and stuff.
I think-
everything is.
I think there's a lot more CGI in all of the Deadpool movies than people realize.
Mhm.
Like
But I
the
think-
first, like car scene and stuff in the first, that's
Yeah.
all
The movement,
very heavily
The
CGI.
movements of the mask are that's
the whole
part of
mask,
the movie,
yeah.
But I think the first one was. I thought
But
the first one looks great.
I
I
think
watched it more
It's the
recently.
bodies.
I think there was a
There's
bunch.
definitely times where you're like, oh, that's CGI.
In the first one.
Yeah.
When you try to CGI a body that's in the car, like in the car, you kind of see it. When they are all fighting and it's flipping and rotating, when they CGI those bodies, you're like, okay, that dude's hand kind of looked like Play-Doh. Like it doesn't look right. I don't know. It looked weird. And I'm not like,
It looks like video games.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there was a
Textures.
lot of CGI in the opening sequence of this movie.
yeah,
That
for
was
sure.
A bunch of it.
It looks really good though.
It did look good.
They upped it for sure.
Which I mean, it's the beginning of the film, so I'm sure they put a lot of effort into that. Like an example of this is The Following, Christopher Nolan's like one of his first films. It was a film that he was doing kind of on like his own, right? So they would just go and shoot every weekend or whatever across however many months, and they didn't have like the biggest budget, so they would intentionally get all of their best audio in the beginning of the film.
Upload the movie.
And then as the movie goes on, the audio gets a little bit worse because they put all of their focus into capturing your attention. And once they have you hooked, you kind of just assume that the rest is up to the same standard. So starting this opening sequence with, they probably put a bunch of time and energy into getting the CGI right here. And then when you cut to the fight where they're all fighting right in front of Ant-Man, I mean, you can see it's like a bunch of shaky cams. They're not really taking their time to show us like the characters' movements like they were in that opening credit scene.
Also, like Zach talked about chaos on screen. When you have a lot of people fighting at once, you can get away with more. Because the scene where they're fighting the Deadpool Corps, my eyes were darting back and forth between Wolverine and Deadpool trying to keep up, or the big fight scene within Ant-Man's arms. There's just so much.
The big one, I think, was a lot harder to watch than the one with all the Deadpools.
But
Yeah, I felt like. Go ahead.
no, yeah, I was gonna say, but like then you have movies like Guardians of the Galaxy that do those big fight scenes and explosions really well with
Endgame.
CGI. And
Any of the Avengers
perfect,
movies,
and it doesn't look as bad as a lot of these
The
movies.
Ultron fight, you can look at anywhere on the screen at any time, and I think it just looks great. The end Ultron fight with all of
just
the
rewatched
bots.
I also too like this movie seems like it got made really fast. Like it was announced
It
not
got
too.
bumped up by like.
Well, had to break because of
a few
COVID, I
months,
think,
yeah.
or the
It
writer's
actually-
strike.
it
Writer's
did
strike.
seem like-
Like they started filming last year and finished filming this year,
Yeah, Kevin Feige.
and then it comes out in the middle of summer. Like that's a
I thought they had the writer's
crazy
strike there, right?
turnaround.
Because they stopped filming because of the writer's strike.
Yeah.
So
And it was an actor strike too at a certain point. But I think Feige put his foot on the gas and said, "We need a good Marvel movie to come out."
And which is crazy is like it's
like
such a fast turnaround time, but it's better than like a number of Marvel movies that have come out in that stretch after Endgame.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
It's largely
it probably took longer to make.
It's largely the characters. I mean, we were gonna like this movie. It would
characters and the actors for sure.
For them to make us hate this movie with these characters and actors,
right? Like they probably put in a lot more time into like all the Avengers, into Winter Soldier, and all of those. Like I'd imagine the production time, both like pre-production, production, post-production, was a lot longer than what we got for Deadpool and Wolverine, and it looks phenomenal.
And it's the MCU is so different now too because like back then it was like focusing on these movies, but now it's like I feel like at least they're focusing more on like the
fan service,
the bigger picture. Like we got to crank all these things out. But I guess they're making changes to get it back to what it was.
Well, and a lot of the complaints were too is some of the TV shows. They felt like they were just cranking TV shows and TV shows
Agatha.
all the time.
I'm so excited for Agatha.
Dude, I've seen no discussion about Agatha.
Was it Agatha all along or not? I can't remember if it was her all along.
They did. Yeah. They did like 6 different titles.
So apparently they I think it claimed that was like a theme.
Yeah.
Like it was like Coven of Chaos, Dark, and then we were like, oh, it was Agatha all along. That was the title all along.
Got you.
That's the joke.
Got you.
But it's like, is it on purpose?
It'd be pretty funny if all the titles were the names of the episodes.
That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be good.
I was going to say something when we were just talking about like chaos on screen, which I thought this would probably be my main complaint, if not my only complaint of the movie. But in the fight inside Ant-Man's arms, I felt like the characters that they just introduced, like, oh, here's Gambit, here's Elektra, here's Blade, then now let's go see them all fight and stuff. I felt like they didn't really get a whole lot of chance to shine because everything was moving so quick and there's so much going on where like there'd be 5 or 6 bad guys fighting one good guy because we have 4 good guys in that fight.
They did really good with
bad guys.
I don't know how Elektra was holding her up.
I think it was Gambit. They did more with Gambit and Blade.
Yeah.
But Gambit really stole the show out of all of them when his pole, and then he looked at his card, and then all 5 of them blew up behind him. I was like, okay.
Out of all of them,
there was more of them shining.
They definitely didn't have as much time for those scenes.
That's the thing is
to execute them for sure.
That's the thing is just mathematically everyone can only shine so much with the amount of people they put in the movie.
Yeah.
Like there's just a limit to it. I mean,
and like at the end of the day too, they're all like side characters in this movie. So like at some point you got to get back to Deadpool and Wolverine, They called attention to a lot of the stuff that is very like it in a sense. I know people have complaints that the fourth wall stuff took them out of the movie, but the fourth wall stuff in this, some of the fourth wall lines in this movie actually, I never have felt before, but it made me like proposal. It gave me complaints about the movie, like when he was like, "Oh, like really draw that out." Audiences are accustomed to longer run times, and then like they would do slow motion and stuff, and I'd be like, "Is this for?" Or like when he said this is really exposition heavy for a threequel, then like there was like still like 5 more minutes of exposition after that. I was like, "Damn, he shouldn't have said that to me." Like. Before they did 5 more minutes, you should have said that at the end.
And then he said, he's like, it's almost over, I promise.
Yeah, there's a couple times when they call it. When he said it's almost over, I promise, is right around the point in the movie where I was like, how much more movie is left?
Yeah. And it was like another 15 minutes.
That's excellent timing. That's the time that you're looking at your clock is when he's acknowledging that the movie's like almost over.
I do think that, I'm not sure, don't scold me, but I don't remember if Shang-Chi came out before or after of Doctor Strange.
Before.
Mm-hmm. So I think that this is and I really liked Doctor Strange. What is it, Multiverse of Madness?
Yep.
I really like that one. I think that's like one of the better MCU movies to come out since then.
Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah. So like anything else I can think of, like TV shows or any of the movies, like I'm so set on Multiverse of Madness being what was like for me one of my only other like fun ones that I watched. And I was like, okay, this is cool.
I challenge you guys to name an MCU movie that you like more than Deadpool and Wolverine that came out after Endgame. There's only more.
Well, I'm just naming the good ones. Okay, give me a second.
I know. I gotta think about all of them.
Jesus.
You didn't tee it up at all.
Shang-Chi is great.
You
But-
teed it up.
I think the main one that'd be in contention is Guardians 3.
Really? No Way Home's not in contention?
No.
I feel like I like this more than No Way Home. I like No
You
Way
like
Home.
Guardians 3 better than No Way Home?
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
Yeah, I do.
No Way
I-
Home's great. Like, I enjoy that movie, but the first chunk of that movie
That's a good pick. Don't listen to him.
is pretty boring, in my opinion. It's pretty boring until
Until
Doc
Matt
Ock
Murdock
shows up.
catches the brick, yeah.
but I would say, like, I think I would probably like this more than Guardians 3, though. But Guardians 3 is good because it's,
I think it's kind of boring even after Doc Ock shows up, honestly.
yeah.
I don't like.
Well, I feel like that's when the movie starts.
Yeah.
It starts when Doc Ock is, because all that other stuff is like, they're setting up, they're not going to get caught.
Yeah.
Like, all that, it's
Yeah, I
boring
get
in
you.
my
I get you.
opinion.
It's just hard to compete. Like, for me, a Guardians movie has a hard time competing with any Spider-Man movie.
One thing I was gonna say, I don't necessarily like all the time when they're like, "Oh, here's this character," but it's not the character that you've been watching for this whole time. Like this Wolverine is a good
It's a
example.
cop out.
Because because they're worried about continuity or whatever. I think if you found a way to make it would work. But it's like, here's this.
The easy way
That's
out.
why
Yeah.
Logan works so well, is because it's like it's supposed to be the same Wolverine we've always
Yeah.
watched.
It's like they're
And now
lucky.
there's a different Wolverine.
They're lucky that we as audience members have such a deep connection to Hugh Jackman being the character of Wolverine
Oh,
that they can switch him out to be another multiverse Wolverine, and we're still invested. But it is still less cool than if it was the Wolverine we've known and loved being in this movie. It's a very Wolverine.
A good example of that is look at your Batmans. Like, do you think that you could have taken, I don't know, Christian Bale and made him Batman forever? Or, like, do you think you could have made George Clooney Batman forever like you have Hugh Jackman and had the same kind of successful run that Hugh Jackman
It's
has?
hard to say that you could. I mean, I love those guys as Batman, but
I
yeah,
think
Hugh Jackman's had the craziest run of anybody playing
yeah.
a superhero character.
Yeah, I think we'll see a better example of that number in the DCU, because we'll actually have, if everything goes to plan, we'll have a long-term Batman, whereas like these other Batmans have kind of always been temporary, like
Yeah.
it's planned for a trilogy, or we have a one-off Batman. There's multiple examples of one-off Batman, and then you have like Ben Affleck, who never even had his own movie.
Good.
Yeah, I
Good.
should have put Ben Affleck's Batman in this movie.
But so kind of the same kind of point I was just talking about, but like in Multiverse of Madness, I'm okay with it being like, okay, this is an alternate universe, and so here's this alternate Charles Xavier. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's like sometimes I'm okay with it. Sometimes I'm like, why wouldn't they just make it the character we've been following? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I mean, by all technicalities, it doesn't make like too much of a difference, but it just feels not.
When you start to think-
it's a feeling. It feels not as cool.
and like another point is like, so the Human Torch that we see show up, right? Is that just another Human Torch from the multiverse that just so happens to be looking like Chris Evans, or is that the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four movies that we watched?
And without them putting a line in the movie saying one way or the other, the only way to confirm it is like to ask them at like Comic-Con or something. So there's not anything like concrete other than just like them being yes or no.
Yeah.
So if there was something in the movie where he mentioned something, reference like their fight with Galactus or Silver Surfer or something, then we could actually know already.
Yeah,
They don't
which-
include that.
Like, that's, I guess, maybe just a personal thing to me, but it kind of bothers me not knowing. Like, I want to
Mhm.
know, is that the Human Torch? Like, because it's important. Like, is that how his story ended up? Like, did he... I mean, we'll never know. We'll never see the movie of him messing up something to where he had to get pruned, but
I have to.
it'd be nice to know.
To me, I have to believe that it is all of them, including Elektra, Blade. I have to believe that it is them because the point of them being there, they make a reference to saying that they're like characters that are forgotten by
They
the
wanted an
universe.
ending.
And it's a real life reference to us. Like, we've kind of forgotten about those characters because they're not in the main timeline. So I have to believe that they're from the movies that we know. That's just my opinion.
Well, and like what I said to you guys in the theater is, it's like, do you think that the Fantastic Four or Johnny, would they be in this movie if they weren't having a Fantastic Four movie coming out? So I feel like they did a lot of that extra like play on these guys that were in the movie to emphasize like, hey, we have this Fantastic Four movie coming out pretty soon too. We got Blade coming out.
Maybe.
I was so like, Blade was like,
I'm the only Blade there's ever been.
I'm the only Blade, and the only one there ever will be.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy to be like a prime person. Like all these people have like Deadpool variants and stuff, and you have no variants. That'd be an interesting character to play.
They have in the comic books; those are called Nexus beings. And Scarlet Witch is one.
She kills everybody else.
Is she a Nexus being in Multiverse of Madness? I don't remember seeing another stuff.
I think she couldn't be because there's the Scarlet Witch from the E38 universe with the kids.
Yeah, was she Scarlet Witch or was she Wanda Maximoff?
She's Scarlet Witch because they fight each other.
Yeah, I can't remember that movie. I guess when did they fight? When did they fight each other? I thought she's like on the ground crying with the kids and
well,
that was a TV show.
Well, I don't know. Because there's a scene where
the movie.
When she kills
in the movie.
When she kills the Illuminati, she's using magic as the A38 universe.
Oh, but she takes over her body, so I feel like that could be her magic inhabiting her body.
Maybe, but a Nexus being is supposed to be that's the only one of that person in the whole multiverse.
Would you prefer the MCU to keep continuing to try to keep up continuity with everything, or would you want them to just stop and either start over or maybe do a few one-off projects and then start back up with a new cinematic universe? What would you prefer?
You can't. I don't think you're too deep to start over.
Yeah.
They should go back in time and not fuck everything up after Endgame comes out.
Yeah, like
that's what I would do.
Ride the high and don't get lazy and then throw 50 billion things at everybody at once. Like that was the issue.
What I think they should do, and it's kind of weird because so the CW did this thing where they did Crisis on Infinite Earths and basically reset the whole universe.
Nope.
And I think if it's executed correctly, that would be a good way to go because you could do all these multiverse stories, pull from all these other older movies.
Just like how they did in The Flash.
Yeah, but I feel like in The Flash... no. Not the movie. I thought you meant the show because the show pulled like the 90s Flash in and like Brandon Routh's Superman and stuff. But if it's executed correctly, I think that'd be a good way to go because you can make that big crazy event where you bring all these characters in. And then there's kind of like a universe reset where it's like, yeah, most of the stuff's still the same and everything's still kind of happened. But if there's like this one detail that's changed, it's not the end of the world because there was that universe reset. So it makes sense going forward that things might be slightly different. Maybe Wolverine is not Hugh Jackman anymore. He's Henry Cavill or whatever.
I just don't like them like cherry picking stuff. I like all or nothing kind of changes.
Yeah, I think I would prefer if they just did a movie and they're like, this is the last movie. And it's not necessarily like resetting the whole universe. It's just this movie just ends.
And then I would say don't start over with the Avengers again. Start over with like the X-Men and Fantastic Four. So that's different and fresh.
I know. If they keep continuing, it's like, all right, well, where were the X-Men before?
Yeah.
You know, that's on a different timeline.
Remember how we thought they were going to...
And it's like, they keep adding all these timelines and stuff.
We thought that they were going to explain it with WandaVision. Like, she has her, like, little reality-bending hex sphere, and then, like, she expands that around the whole world. And we were theorizing that was going to activate mutant genes because she's a mutant in the comics. And then that would be the introduction. Mutants are first introduced, and that's why they weren't in existence before, is because she activated the dormant mutant gene inside humans.
Yeah, there's always a writer's way around things. Like, I think...
Not always ways that the audience buys and accepts, though. Because even that way, it's like, okay, well, Charles Xavier's an old man.
Yeah, it wouldn't explain Magneto. His powers since World War II.
Right.
One of the things, too, is like I feel like at some point you have to let things die. And I know I was just oozing about Hugh Jackman, but he plays a good Wolverine and he does his job really well. But like, there's so many characters in the MC, like in the Marvel in general, that you can make awesome, like you did Iron Man and Captain America and Hulk. Like you have so many. Yeah. All right. No, you have so many people and characters to be like, okay, here's our group of 5 or whatever. Let's make this movie like we did Iron Man.
But don't you think all those did so well because they didn't have all of this continuity and history to worry about? They could just focus on making their movies and loosely tying it into the Avengers, you know? It's like,
well, then you can just build another continuity that big with new characters. Like, just do it how you did it and do it right.
But then you have to start all over.
I feel like they're doing what you're talking about, though, because, like, Shang-Chi is a great example of, like, they did this movie, and it's, like, it's set in the MCU, and there's, like, those little points that tie it together, but it stands on its own, really. I mean, the only part
and it hasn't been greenlit for a second one at all.
Why don't you just do that? Like,
Comic-Con's happening right now. They might announce it.
I would say raise your hand in this room if you think the MCU is still great. So I don't think they're doing it now.
I think you get a black card and it says 200 years later, and then you just bam, and you put it in front of the audience, and then you got a whole new squad of people. 200 years later, and then boom, you have new X-Men.
Fucking Franklin Richards in the future.
You know, it will work.
I don't know.
They restart comics all the time. Just do that with the MCU.
I think that they still do make movies that are standalone movies that are set in the MCU that are good.
Standalone?
Yeah, like.
But then you have to tie in TV shows that are not good.
Don't really worry too much about the continuity, all this continuity. Like,
I think they worry about the continuity with everything, though. I feel like it's littered on, like, even the 10 rings in Shang-Chi are, like, going to be a greater part of the overall continuity.
but in, like, Eternals, which some people don't like Eternals, lots of people, I like it.
I love it.
But
They wrote one line, said fuck it, and they were like, stay out of human affairs, we're good.
yeah, but I feel like that movie is done pretty well, and even if that movie was not part of the MCU, I like that movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it was fine.
Well, then would you agree that what I said is that, like, you have those kind of movies, but then you have, like, unwatchable TV shows. Like, for me, I could not watch WandaVision just for a good chunk of it, and there's parts of Loki and She-Hulk that I'm like, okay, get on with it, and you have to watch all these TV shows that are subpar compared to the movie to get to know kind of what's going on. Some of them, not all of them.
Let's just call it what it is. The TV shows fucking suck.
Yeah.
I just want a one-off movie of Moon Knight.
A movie. Moon Knight should have a movie. Daredevil should have a movie.
Don't tie it into anything else.
Dude,
just give me Moon Knight.
How are they going to do with that? Like, how are they going to put out all these movies when they're trying to do 2 movies a year or maybe three movies a year?
Stop putting out the movies that nobody wants.
Isn't that how they started Iron Man?
Like, what would be one that nobody wanted?
Thor 4.
Thor 2.
No, but just because it turned out being bad, people still were excited for Thor 4. Like, Thor is a character that we've seen develop through the MCU. I mean, granted, that Thor kind of turned people off of him.
Did you ask for WandaVision? Were you excited about WandaVision?
Yeah. I've been excited pretty much about everything that's come out.
Excited, but I don't think first question though. I don't think you asked for it. Like I don't think anybody was going like, "Where's my WandaVision show?"
Show me those kids.
And so like, Agatha is a good example of me. Actually, I'm not excited for Agatha. I don't know.
Come on,
this dude's
Aaron's
gonna be so good. First of all,
will be all right, but
it goes Henry Cavill, Agatha. Yes.
I don't know, man. I just think that some of the shows are actually good. Like. I just rewatched them all, and like maybe you can say like, oh well, you should have to watch it twice to like it or whatever. But I feel like as I rewatch things, I like them better.
Here's my barometer for how good the shows are. Aaron, how much of Loki season 2 did you watch?
Half of it.
This is the guy who I've argued many occasions about Loki season 1 being good, and he quit halfway through season 2. That's how bad I think the shows are. They made him not watch this. They did this to him. He liked season 1. So I had actually a big complaint in this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, that the TVA was way too big a part of a movie for me. I get that's the only way, because again, I get that they're shoehorning the multiverse thing into this movie. I get that's the only way, the route they saw a narrow way through, as, you know, Paul Atreides would say. But
unless they kept
the TVA was such a big part of this movie. I was telling you in the car, I feel like Loki the show and Deadpool and Wolverine the movie are like hand in hand, like they're like sister movies, like freaking like I don't know, like Wolverine and like Logan,
almost like they're part of the same universe.
No, but these ones are I mean Loki the show and Deadpool and Wolverine are infinitely closer than Deadpool and Wolverine is to, WandaVision
or even Deadpool 2.
Even possibly Deadpool 2. That's the part that bothered me, is it's so close to this random show. I didn't watch season 2 of Loki. I don't like Loki, the show, really at all. And I felt like that I think the TVA is stylistically cool, and I think the production design is really cool, but I did not care enough about them for them to be 30% of the movie.
The multiverse needs to die. It needs to stop being the focus of every movie.
And I think it will be after Secret Wars. I think we're stuck with it for a little while.
Why do I have to be stuck with it for so long?
I don't know.
We've already been stuck with it for so long.
That's the route they went. I don't know. Maybe they'll end it sooner, but it definitely seems like the plan.
And can you run the tape on when Zach said that he was an apologist?
Yeah. What about, what makes you think Secret Wars is going to be good?
Damn. Well,
He's out.
One,
It's got to be. Is it?
Aaron has no faith anymore. He just wants
I'm just thinking devil's advocate.
He still has no faith.
In comparison to the other Avengers movie, what makes you think that's going to be on the same level?
I think that one, we haven't had a bad Avengers movie yet, so I think that it's going to be at least on level with the Avengers movies.
That's why they're not making an Avengers movie after Endgame. They're like, we can't make a bad one if we never make one.
They're making two eventually.
But one's called Kang Dynasty. Are we sure they're making that?
I'm sure the title's going to change.
Blech.
But we still have all this time before we actually watch Secret Wars for them to do whatever they're going to do. Who knows? I don't have any behind-the-scenes information, but I think that they're going to use Secret Wars as kind of like a big event and have. I think that will be when
the catalyst.
Tony Stark comes back and Chris Evans comes back.
Tom Cruise.
See, that's what I am kind of afraid of, that it's going to turn into more of a Deadpool, Wolverine, fan service type movie rather than how all the other Avengers, they're serious movies with funny parts in it.
Well,
If they brought back, it would.
But they're story driven.
I would love to see Iron Man and Cap come back, but if they did that in Secret Wars, wouldn't it also seem kind of desperate? Like they're trying to cling to what made it great before?
I don't
Yes.
think so, but I can see that argument. But that's what it is in the comic books. So it's like,
Yeah.
if they're adapting that into the movie, they're using these different variants of all these characters and this big fight for the universe.
But in the comic books, the actors aren't 15 years older coming back hobbling in with their canes like, I remember when I was great.
That's I think what he might be trying to get at too is that's how they're gonna start that no more continuity thing. That's how you're gonna stop the multiverse stuff, and then you're gonna have a fresh new pair of legs that is going on after Secret Wars of wherever they want to take
Sounds
it.
like they're just letting the wheels fall off the bus instead of getting on a good route.
They need a drop.
We're obviously just speculating here. So.
Yeah.
I think innately though, there's a problem with doing a live action universe because you are going to have actors that are not going to stop aging, and you can't put the movie out. You can't build the universe as fast as they're aging.
That's why other universes end their story. I mean, Harry Potter wasn't they're not let's make 10 more movies after the books and just have 30-year-old Daniel Radcliffe stay in school.
And I'm sure we will get to that point where the MCU, as we know it, ends. But I don't think we're there yet.
Zach said, but not today, guys.
It's not
not today if I can.
Well, they kind of already.
Chris Evans is not 60, and Robert Downey Jr. is older, but he can still play Iron Man right now.
Even when
they want to bring it back for a movie like Secret Wars.
Well, they already kind of are doing the transition anyway with Captain America. They're passing the torch and they're making way.
I think we can all agree we're just as excited for Captain America 4 as we were for Winter Soldier.
I think it looks fantastic. So
I'm super excited for
Captain America.
We're just haters.
I don't know if it's going to be as good, but I'm excited about it.
You telling me you're putting Hulk?
Compare the excitement. Compare the excitement.
I don't remember how excited I was for Winter Soldier. I love that movie.
This guy's on trial.
I don't remember.
I do not recall.
Place your right hand. I played the fifth.
You cannot make me say, actually.
There's no way I'm going to be as excited for a superhero movie where the lead superhero doesn't have superpowers.
Batman. you're fucking stoked for the Batman.
Yeah, he's fighting the Riddler, not fucking Hulk.
Yeah. He's supposed to be a super soldier.
You want to hear a riddle, Batman?
And all the other animated stuff that we watch, Batman's fighting people who.
And that's a big complaint for me about Batman's
We
content.
also had this conversation in the car too. I asked Zach this question. Zach, fate of the universe. Who are you passing the ball to?
Yeah, Batman.
Falcon or Batman? And by what margin?
A mile, I said.
Exactly.
But,
by a mile, because Falcon is not
Batman with prep time. Easy pass. I agree. I'll agree with you. I'll take that one. I'll take Batman over a lot.
I mean, if they were realistic,
who's dodged Omega
probably
beams?
more.
Which one of your which one of your superheroes have dodged Omega beam?
There's really not so much a difference between Iron Man and this new Falcon.
There is, because Iron Man is completely concealed in his suit.
And like Aaron said on our episode, he makes his own suit. Like he has his own skills. Like he inherited them.
I was going to say the intellect is the main.
And the suit gives him strength. This guy just has a jetpack on.
Iron Man is a hero who can like go and build a time machine. Sam is just a guy who's somebody like gives another guy the wings. And how different are they from Sam?
But you can argue, and
We got him.
Unless he gets a super serum.
because.
But he already refused that in the show. Undo the events of the show.
Dude, they tricked him.
But anyways, I think that Dan, you guys made me lose that train of thought. What did you just say when you said you got me?
That Iron Man uses his suit. He has like the strength of the suit. He can protect himself. Falcon is just wearing a jetpack.
Yeah.
So like you can take down Falcon with just a bullet.
So the argument of like Batman's at like peak physical human condition, you could make that argument for Falcon too. I mean, he's like a trained soldier, and he does have advantages over, your average Joe that you're.
But he's going against the Hulk, not an average Joe.
I'm not saying he's going to beat the Hulk, or I'm not even saying that that's a fair fight where he even could stand a chance to beat the Hulk.
So how am I supposed to watch a movie where the main character doesn't have a chance, though?
Who knows? I personally think that Mark Ruffalo is going to be in that movie. Because they have to start building the new Avengers.
Change the movie to Hulk 1, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
They can't put Hulk
You can't have another superhero come and save the day in a movie that's called Captain America.
Yeah, like
it just happened in the movie we watched. We watched essentially Deadpool 3, and Wolverine had to be there to save the day.
But the title is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, but
it's a buddy cop movie. Yeah. It's both of their movies.
Also, like, they saved the world together. Like, what is Falcon gonna like hold Hulk's Gatorade while Hulk fights Red Hulk?
Hold on. I just thought.
I'm ready, coach.
No, because War Machine and what is that? Whiplash is Iron Man 2? Comes and helps Tony Stark. It's like a total different.
Again, it's like
there's no Iron.
Together.
There's no War Machine in the title.
Yeah, but I'm saying they are fighting together. Whereas like
but without
Hulk would have to engage and do the fight for him.
But without War Machine, Tony would have been dead.
But Tony was also helping. Like without Iron Man, War Machine would have been dead.
So it was
you
like
don't want your titular character to
be undermined by another.
If Hulk is fighting Red Hulk, Hulk will be fine. If Falcon is fighting Hulk, he's dead.
But we also have to see this movie. So maybe Hulk's fighting Red Hulk and Falcon's saving the world.
I've heard that Red Hulk.
What's going to happen?
I've heard that Red Hulk has like a lot more disadvantages than Hulk. Like he gets angry or overheated or something. He like can't hold his rage or something. Well,
I think they need to read up on Red Hulk powers because he's kind of OP. In the comic book, it's kind of gross.
Okay, well then there we go. Now I'm even less excited.
It's really gross.
How is this going to be possible?
Well, that's what happens. It's the same thing. It's nerfed.
If you did like, I don't know. I guess I see what you're saying. You don't want your titular character to have to be saved. I get it. I agree. But I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing if there's like a team fight.
What's his contribution going to be to the team?
I don't know. I've seen the movie. But I'm sure there will be something.
But the thing is, like, you're willing to defend it, and then when I, like, critique it, you're like, I don't know. But then you're like, but I'm sure it's going to be good. So, like, you have to be willing to face my response to that.
Imagine your sister.
I'm just saying, I'm sure that they will have...
Is pretty much married to this guy. This is what you got to deal with.
We can't have two conversations here.
They're not going to just be like, okay, now the... Thunderbolt Ross turns into the Red Hulk, and then Mark Ruffalo comes in, and now he's a Green Hulk, and they're gonna fight, and then Sam's just gonna watch. He's gonna be doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just not really excited to see him like doing community outreach.
Would you have liked it in Winter Soldier if Winter Soldiers are starting to engage Captain America and Captain America's like, hey, I'm going to go over here, and Iron Man shows up and fights him instead? Would you have been like, oh yeah, this movie's great because we got a team up?
No, but those two characters, you just said two characters who are on the same level. Obviously,
That's the whole point that we're making here.
We're going in circles though. This isn't even talking about Deadpool.
I know, yeah, you're gonna have to cut this into 2 episodes.
We've talked for a really long time. Does anyone else have anything about Deadpool and Wolverine that we wanted to discuss further?
It was a great movie. It was a lot of fun.
The only other thing I'd say is I really love the suit, and there was a lot of complaints about the arms missing, but that suit was fantastic.
They showed it with and without the arms, which I don't know how much of that was like CGI.
I liked when he came out with just the mask and when his shirt was off with no gloves, and it was just like the pants and the mask. That looks pretty sweet too. But
I think the mask was real when he was inside and fake when he was outdoors, because the way he pulled it over his head had to be fake.
And then most like suit ups for masks.
It's the same thing with Deadpool when they did it. Like it's like a real mask, but the eyes are CGI or Spider-Man.
It just looked weird to me in the daytime. I think the whole mask was fake for the fight, so that the stunt person didn't have to have a mask on and he could see the coordination of the combat.
Oh yeah.
What were you saying?
I was gonna say I said this to Andrew in the car, but I feel like when they're inside, especially the mask is like not ideal because I feel like he doesn't know where to look. I feel like
he's like Daredevil.
He's like, it has to be me, and then they're like, where the fuck's he looking?
I love that dramatic moment at the end, though. Him hammering into the door and stuff,
yeah,
with the music playing, and he breaks through.
You definitely get a sense for like the strength of Wolverine.
Yeah, he's so strong.
Yeah.
One point that I wanted to touch on too before we left was when I asked what good, if you can name a Marvel movie that's better than Deadpool and Wolverine after Endgame. None of you guys said Captain Marvel 2, so none of you are feminists. I just wanted to.
You didn't say it either.
I asked the question.
You want me to be honest with you? No, it's not good. I'd prefer anything else.
I like the dynamic of the three Marvels in that movie.
No, you don't.
Most of it is.
Yeah, let's start a conversation arguing about whether that movie's good next.
And
This is a good place to wrap it up. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know down in the comments below what you thought of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Please make sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We are on X. We're on every social media platform, posting short form videos daily, long form videos go up on all the podcast platforms Mondays and Thursdays, and extra episodes coming out on Fridays a lot now. Make sure to go on Spotify, give us a rating. 5 stars helps the show get found by new people. Make sure to share us with friends and family, because that's the best way to help the show grow organically. And you can check us out on our Discord, which I think both of these guys are in. If you want to chat with them and disagree with them. If you disagree with anything in this episode with any of us, you can message in there and tell us directly, and we'll talk with you. Aaron, I can't remember how much it costs.
It is completely free.
That's awesome.
Thanks so much for watching. Thank you, Zach and Denver, for joining us today. And that's a wrap.